I'm going to read out to you now aloud. Treat this as a podcast, if you must treat this as anything, I suppose. The story of the Pete Rock and InI, interesting hip-hop act, which are most well known for a archival compilation, Center of Attention, released in 2003, or otherwise known as Lost and Found Hip-Hop Underground Soul Classics. On InI, I'm not sure how the correct or the proper preferred pronunciation is, an American hip-hop group that formed in 1990 and broke up in 1997. The group was composed of members Pete Rock, Rob O, Grap Lover, Raz G, aka I Love HIM, Marco Polo, now known as Jolomite, and DJ Budokan. The group started working on their debut album with the working title The Life I Live, together with producer Pete Rock in the mid-1990s. They signed a deal with Rock's newfound imprint Soul Brother Records through Elektra. Despite the fact that Pete Rock was not an official member of the group, it became synonymous with his name. He produced almost every track on Center of Attention, and his younger brother Grap Lover formed a crucial part of the group. Rock had 2 guest verses in the album on tracks Fakin Jax and Think Twice, with additional ad-libs and background vocals on almost every track. In 1996, the lead single from the album, Fakin Jax, saw release and became an underground hit. Unbeknownst at the time, this single ultimately ended up becoming the group's only release on the label. Rock later revealed that management shifts were to blame for the album changing title from The Life I Live to Center of Attention before eventually being shelved. When I finished the InI album, there was a guy who was the president who approved of and got them signed to Elektra, but once Sylvia Rohn came into the picture, things didn't work out between me and her. We didn't have the greatest relationship. She came in with some of her own insights, which I didn't approve of, and I felt she didn't understand real hip-hop music. She came in with the brand new polished sound, which was, to me, it was like water to skin. It just rolls off of you. It doesn't stick to you. I felt like me and her, I didn't feel like we would have a great relationship if our thought processes going in different directions. Following the disputes of Sylvia Rohn, Rock's relationship with her Elektra Records quickly turned sour, which led to his distribution deal with them ending, along with the demise of Soul Brother Records. As a result, 2 releases Rock was working on at the time, Center of Attention and Data's The Original Baby Pa, never came out due to legal complications surrounding the ownership of the masters. Despite the initial lack of an official release, the album eventually became one of the most bootlegged albums in hip-hop's history. In 2003, it finally saw an official release after being included on Lost and Found Hip-Hop Underground Soul Classics, a double LP of Pete Rock's mid-1990s production work, originally cancelled by Elektra Records. Rock later revealed that... Oh, there's nothing here, actually. Someone needs to complete that. In 2016, Center of Attention was made available for streaming, along with other unreleased recordings Rock had been working on at the time. After Center of Attention got shelved, the group members went their separate ways, with only 2 of them staying in the music scene to pursue solo careers. Grap Lover released a few limited 12-inch singles in the new millennium and aspired toward achieving his true interest in being a beat boy and producer. He appeared and produced on various albums and singles from artists such as DJ Spinner, J Live, Pete Rock, Lone Catalysts, Kev Brown, and Marley Marl. Robbo released many singles and an 8-track album named Super Spectacular through an imprint called St. Nick Entertainment, and in 2006 he came out with a compilation album, Rhyme Pro, a mix of the older 12-inch singles and with a few new songs sprinkled throughout. I'd like to read out the reviews now on Rating Music from the 2 great reviewers, one being first GOC, however they prefer, October 2008. The first project Pete Rock took on after his breakup with CL Smooth was a new group called InI. InI was, I'm just going to refer to it as that, was a group made up of Pete Rock's younger brother Grap Lover, remember him from Mecca and the Soul Brother, Pete and CL roadie Robbo, remember him from both Pete and CL albums, and 2 new kids, Raz G and Marco Polo. They were set to release their debut album Center of Attention in 1995, which would have been a good idea after the good reception from their single Fakin Jax, but Pete Rock's distribution plan for Elektra fell through and never saw release for many years due to ownership issues. Rule number 4080, Center of Attention didn't see the light of day until 2003 when Pete Rock released it and Data's The Original Baby Pa, another shelved project, as Lost and Found Hip-Hop Underground Soul Classics. That sucks, but anyway, here's the review of the long-lost Pete Rock project. First of all, the beats. Obviously, the whole album is produced by Pete Rock. I think Grap Lover helped him out as well. Even more obvious, the production is amazing. Just like the main ingredient, each beat is a highly intricate fusion of layered jazz/funk/R&B samples, crisp drums, and the occasional scratched primo-style hook. Also like the main ingredient, each beat is lush, smooth, and amazing. Pete Rock's production here ranks as one of the best beats of his career, if not his best. Why a lecturer would think shelving such amazing music is a good idea is anyone's guess. One big blow to Pete Rock is the loss of his MC CL Smooth. There aren't very many MCs that are CL's caliber, and those that are probably already taken by someone else. The bad news is that each member of InI is only about half as good as CL Smooth. Having said that, the good news is that they're really not bad rappers at all. The MCs of InI don't get enough credit as MCs just because they're not CL Smooth. For those of us that remember Grab Lover's goofball freestyle in the beginning of On and On, he's greatly stepped up his game since then, thank God. Robbo's always been one of the better, if not the best. Pete and CL weed carrier, and he's good here too. Raz G and Marco Polo, I don't know the difference between the two, aren't as good as their more experienced buddies. Raz and Marco spew a corny line once in a while, but they're not bad. As a whole, they doesn't utilize any fancy lyrical gymnastics, nor are their lines very witty, but they all have a good straightforward style that sounds even better with their excellent relaxed vocals and Pete Rock's amazing beats. Lyrically, InI challenges whack MCs and talks about different things in their lives, philosophically leaning towards a Rastafarian rhetoric. But a notable song here is the single Fakin Jax. Apparently Pete Rock's opening verse was a diss to CL Smooth. Uh-oh. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that must have been the infamous Pete Rock rap that got CL so pissed off in that even more infamous interview. Dude just says straight up, nobody fucking wants to hear you rap. Make my beats that bundle of sticks. But ain't a good look, especially considering that Pete was the godfather of CL's kids. But let's not dwell on how much Pete and CL don't like each other. Once you get past the fact that InI are not CL Smooth level, you find that they're still pretty damn good. Any problems? Nope. Center of Attention is a Cinderella story classic of brilliant production, good rapping, and excellent vibe to relax to an infinite replay value. I listened to it a billion times before this review. I recommend this to fans of Pete Rock, anything he was a part of, A Tribe Called Quest, Diggable Planets, the earlier jazzy Gangstar, smooth jazz or smooth R&B. Too bad the InI thing didn't last. This would have been a great group for Pete Rock to have his name attached to. It would have been great if they had been able to continue releasing albums in the late 90s and maybe early thousands. Killing KMD wasn't enough for you, Electra. You had to kill InI too. Thanks a lot, bastards. Here's to hoping that Grap Lover or Robbo resurrects as a supervillain weirdo extraordinaire since our other villain is MIA. Now finally, from Zephos, August 2009. The better of the two previously unreleased Pete Rock produced 95 albums, and also the first thing he did after his magnum opus of The Main Ingredient. Like Data, I know nothing else about InI aside from their part in this album, though they did have something a prelude spot on Main Ingredient, the track Worldwide. But unlike Data, I was left wishing for more, not hugely, but in no small part I felt these guys were worth hearing more from. A large part of the album's strength is that Rock is fresh off his best work, Troy aside, and had to be in the zone. As such, you get an ample dose of great classic sounding Pete, which means some real jazz bap goodness. The MCs are all very laid back, all of them rapping on the same sort of tonal level. This might be a problem elsewhere, but it perfectly fits these beats, making for a very working sound. Can't imagine what the label was thinking in rejecting this, unless it was that creepy ass kid on the intended cover. Maybe they wanted something more noir rapish, as was the sound of the day. I mean, hell, all things considered, these are a little duskier than the average Pete Rock sound, but quality is quality, and mid-90s record labels apparently couldn't see it if they were being bit on the arse by it. Fools. I agree, this is a terrific listen. Extremely well-aged hip-hop. Yeah, it sounds fresh and exciting, not too dated, doesn't sound too much like typical 90s boom bap. There's a rich production. It sounds like it's approaching some of the sonic priorities of certain 2000s hip-hop albums, some like a certain clean, fresh, kind of golden sound. Yeah, fun stuff. This is a great archetypal album of hip-hop in general, I feel. It's the kind of genre you can play to. It has enough of the elements, ingredients, tropes of the genre for an average person, and they can hear something like this and find a very easy path to enjoying the genre, period. And that's all I'll share here. Thanks again, my good and dear friends.